6 in the name of Deputy Maureen O'Sullivan. Deputy O'Sullivan to introduce.
And you're taking it with Deputy Daly's
question.
Taking
it with Deputy Daly, okay.
Yeah. Okay, my question is to ask the Minister to outline the engagement that he's had with authorities in Northern Ireland and in Britain on the outstanding issues being faced by the prisoners in Maghaberry in view of the light of progress on the agreements that have been reached between the prisoners and the authorities.
Thank you very much. Deputy Daly, do you want to comment? No?
Yeah, well, it's a similar issue. I suppose my question maybe poses a little bit more directly in that it's asking to deal with the failure of the prison management to deal with the implementation of the stocktake agreement, which I think, based on our visits to Maghaberry, will be all of our collective understanding of where the logjam to the problems lie.
Thank you very much, Minister.
I propose Cian Corda to take 26, 44 and 50 together. Maghaberry Prison was identified by the Criminal Justice Inspector Brendan McGuigan in a November 2015 report as needing work to make the prison safer and to improve conditions for both staff and prisoners. Since publication of that report, the Criminal Justice Inspectorate has continued with a programme of announced low-impact visits to the prison, which find that the situation has stabilised and that a measure of progress has been achieved. Of course, more work remains to be done. Prison conditions in Northern Ireland, including for those in separated regime in Maghaberry, were part of my regular dialogue with the former Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, Theresa Villers, and with the former Minister for Justice in Northern Ireland, Executive David Ford. I have made my strong concerns known to each and both of them. I will continue to raise these issues when I meet with Justice Minister Clare and with Secretary of State James Brokenshire in the near future. In addition, my officials engage on a regular and ongoing basis with a range of interlocutors across the devolved and non-devolved authorities, members of the Stocktake Group, the International Committee of the Red Cross and Red Crescent, and others to discuss and explore and encourage progress. The difficulties in setting up the prison forum, which is disappointing, have featured in these discussions. I continue to encourage all those with good offices to move on the matter of the forum. But at this stage, it must be acknowledged that momentum has been somewhat lost. That the forum is not up and running has contributed to tension within the prison, which in the circumstances is unhelpful. Also heightening tension is the sense of threat under which prison officers and their families continue to live. The murders of prison officers Adrian Ismay last March and David Black in 2012 were appalling crimes and clearly damaged confidence between prisoners in row house and prison officers and staff. Notwithstanding the challenges to goodwill posed by Mr Ismay's murder, I was heartened that the Northern Ireland Executive this summer accepted the recommendation of the Fresh Start paramilitary panel that a review be established on the separated regime. I look forward to the appointment of a review panel and to seeing their work not only progress but completed. This review was proposed following an extensive consultation process undertaken by Ms Monica McWilliams and Lord Alderdice and John McBurney. It opens a new opportunity to address genuine concerns regarding separation in Maghaberry Prison. I'm conscious also that moving forward in the prison requires the cooperation of both the Northern Ireland Prison Service and the prisoners themselves, but I encourage all to work together in the right spirit to move matters forward.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Daly.
Well, as you know, Minister, there's a group of us who have been visiting Maghaberry quite regularly, and the most recent visit was the end of September, just gone. And we know the reasons why the prisoners engaged with the authorities on the various agreements, the stocktake, etc., and most recently with the International Red Cross. So it was very disappointing when we were there at the end of September to learn that the issues are still outstanding, particularly issues around controlled movement, issue around the full body searching, and particularly for those prisoners handcuffed to warders who are going out to hospital visits and yet they are subjected to a full body search leaving and coming back. And then there's also issues in relation to education, in relation to the Irish language, and their small attempt on the part of the prisoners to celebrate the centenary of the Easter Rising. So it looks as if there's always inroads on the dignity of prisoners. Now, the prisoners have assured us that they were prepared to accept the recommendations and to move forward on the recommendations and that they would stand by them. Now, the Fresh Start is also causing considerable anxiety and distress to them, while the other agreements that they had come to are still not being realised. Their comment is that it's all process and no progress. And here now we have another process on the fresh start. So I'm just asking, as you said, the momentum has been lost, that we need to get that momentum going again with the new Secretary of State and Minister for Justice.
Thank you very much, Deputy Daly.
I think, Minister, we believe this is an incredibly serious situation. I note your comments that progress overall has been made in terms of conditions in Maghaberry, adjudicated as one of the worst prisons in Europe, but in actual fact that progress is quite slow, and it would be our experience that in actual fact developments in the segregated wings have actually gone backwards. And we don't in any way say that lightly or flippantly, but based on the experience of 5 years of visits, based on the input from the people who did the stocktake agreement, on the International Red Cross, who tried to facilitate a process, the prisoner ombudsman, even your own Northern Ireland office and so on, all of whom have tried to intervene. And there's two essential problems. The reason why the forum has failed is that arbitrary and non-serious issues were attempted to be thrown into the mix, where the real issues in the room all along were always control movement and strip searching. And without addressing those, there can't be any movement onwards. And we note the comments that you repeated again, that the staff feel threatened. But again, we have to go back to the response that the prisoners would make, is that they signed up to the agreements, the August 2010. They demonstrated good faith. There's been no incidents, and very low incidents, and no physical incidents against any prison officer in that area, as distinct from the general body of the prison population. And really what you have is a sham process that is actually contributing to a very difficult situation on the ground unless these issues are addressed.
Thank you, Deputy Daly. Minister.
Yeah, I'd refer if I can, Corla, to the two issues as raised by the deputies. Firstly, in relation to the strip searching regime, and that has been, as the deputies will be aware, it has been the subject of a complaint by prisoners. It's an issue which both myself and my officials have raised in discussions with the appropriate authorities in the North. The Stocktake report recommends that the current policy for searching prisoners exiting and entering the prison be reviewed, particularly in cases where prisoners are going for a medical or health examination. And this has been accepted, with the prison service saying that discretion can be applied. I think it's fair to say that prisoners are no longer routinely subject to a full body search when leaving the prison on home leave, or indeed on discharge from custody. But I just want to say that I'm aware, Cian Corla, the deputies have been briefed by the International Commission of the Red Cross on some of the issues here, and I too am disappointed that the forum recommendations did not proceed. The first chair proposed in December 2014 was Mr. Tom Miller. That proposal is not acceptable to the prisoners. This led to some delay, after which the ICRC agreed over the summer of 15 to its person in Belfast taking on the role. But that person engaged with both prison management and prisoners to see if an agreed agenda could be found in the event it didn't prove possible. Since then, there have been a number of meetings among stakeholders to see how matters might be moved forward. Since then, I believe we've seen a number of changes in key personnel and people, including the Minister for Justice and the Executive, the ICRC in Belfast, and within management in Maghaberry Jail, and also shortly in the matter of the Northern Ireland Prison Service. So I think at this stage it would be premature to speculate as to what new people will bring to the discussion. But I wish to assure the deputies that both myself and my officials will continue to raise these issues with the importance of moving forward in the Stocktake report.
Deputy O'Sullivan.
It has been extremely disappointing that there hasn't been progress, and even after the stocktake, the prisoners took part in another process, and now it looks like another process again, and they're not seeing anything from the goodwill that they are showing. They assure us constantly their only interest is in a conflict-free environment, but yet the issues persist. And it would be very, there are alternatives to full body searching. There could be move on the education and on the language classes, and it comes down to, I think, a lack of will on the part of the authorities to move these in a way that will be very positive positive for everybody. No one, and I agree, should feel threatened in their place of work. It's obvious that there is tension in the prison, but there have been no physical assaults on the prison officers in the row 3 and in row 4. But yes, the separation unit continues, the full body searching continues, the lack of education continues. There are still prisoners whose licence is being revoked, and they're going through a whole process that is extremely unfair. So again, it's not to let this matter lose momentum any further.
Thank you very much, Deputy Daly.
I think it would be true to say that if you don't go forwards, you go backwards. And that has been our experience, that in many ways the character of the prisoners has been tested beyond belief. Or we actually don't understand how they've remained as patient as they have. Because if you take, say, the full body searches, and we're glad, Minister, that you agree with us that that is completely unacceptable. But like you, we've been told, no, that's not going on in the same way as it was before. But our information is that it is. And it's not good enough for the authorities to say after 5 years we're looking at alternative technology. That doesn't add up when similar prisoners, for example, in Portlaoise are not subjected to full body searches. There's other alternatives, swabbing people, dogs, Bosch chair, so on, which people cooperate. There's no need for this cruel and unacceptable degrading treatment. And I think the problem here is that all of the evidence would show that the processes that are being used to drag out the situation, to fail to implement any meaningful changes and deal with the issues at the heart of the prisoner complaints. And if that continues, then it can only destabilise the situation further. And that's not just us saying it. It's all the other neutral or independent bodies who've come in, who've tried to assist in this process. All of their efforts have been stymied. And in fairness to them all, they've all put it at the door of prison management in Northern Ireland. That's incredibly dangerous. And I think you have an important role to keep these issues on their plates.
Thank you very much. Minister, to conclude, please.
Well, I think we should see, Ceann Corla, how best we might be in a position to take forward the recommendation of the Stocktake report. Of course, there are security issues. They have been evidenced time and time again. And the security and safety and health and welfare of those working in the prison under very difficult circumstances must at all stages be taken into account. But I have raised the humanitarian issues on the part of prisoners, as raised with me by Deputy O'Sullivan and others. I will continue to do so. But I also attach a certain importance, and this was referred to by Deputy O'Sullivan, on the action plan on the part of the executive on paramilitarism, and in particular the intention to establish a review of the separated regime in Maghaberry. I think we all agree that this is a welcome initiative, and I hope that this could well provide the context to move forward to a more positive atmosphere within the prison, which ultimately will have positive consequences for everybody involved.